Kelly from the Energy Boutique with your energy forecast for Sunday, February 12th. So today we have the moon in Scorpio all day. And of course, the moon in Scorpio is pretty intense. We are doing a deep dive in our psyche, really trying to unearth and kind of explore the deep-seated reasons of why it is that we are the way that we are, why we're thinking the way that we're thinking, why we feel the way that we're feeling, and of course, why it is that we're blocking ourselves from moving forward. The moon in Scorpio does kind of push us to do a little bit of shadow work, definitely sitting in the funk of things. And of course, we are building towards the last quarter moon in Scorpio that will be taking place early Monday. And so we do have a lot of exploring to do in our inner realm of thought, of our emotions, of our memories. We are definitely looking to peel back the layers of our lives to get down to the nitty-gritty on what it is that we have to transform, what it is that we have to change within ourselves before we're going to start seeing that change and transformation in our external realities. We have 12 different aspects here today, so a pretty busy day in the cosmos, and 9 of those 12 aspects involve the moon. We have Mercury fresh in this Aquarian energy. We just shifted into this Aquarian energy here yesterday. If you need to go ahead, listen to that astro forecast on what Mercury in Aquarius is going to bring us over the next couple of weeks. Definitely do that. But you should be feeling a little bit lighter, a little bit brighter in that mental narrative. Of course, we've been in that Capricorn energy since the beginning of December, went retrograde in that Capricorn energy. And now that we've escaped that Capricorn energy, we are definitely feeling the shift. Now, we are going to feel the intensity build in our mental plane because of all the wheels just a spinning, really pushing us to see new perspectives, new possibilities in this Aquarian energy. But nonetheless, we are feeling the shift and we're going to need a couple of days to adjust to this particular energy. Mercury is interacting with Chiron, the wounded healer, in a very positive way. What I love about this is that the Aquarian energy that Mercury is now in kind of pushes us to act as the observer. And sometimes acting as the observer to our own pain, our own trauma, our own inner narrative reveals where it is that, guess what? We have the opportunity to heal particular wounds, perspectives, understandings. And we're going to do just that. We're pushing the boundaries. We're thinking outside of the box. And sometimes when we look at our certain circumstances of pain and trauma, we get a little bit of a tunnel vision because we're so closely knit, because we've incorporated this pain and trauma story into our identity. Mercury being an Aquarian energy provides us with that bird's eye view where we can emotionally detach from our own storyline to see things from a different lens. And of course, the minute that we're able to shift our perspective, we're able to shift our inner narrative, we're able to shift our emotional response to said narrative, and therefore we can release some of the heavier emotions, heavier thoughts, heavier narratives that have kept us closed off and blocked from actually moving forward and healing particular aspects of ourselves. The sun is going to semi-square, a little bit of a tangent point, with Jupiter. So we have the sun in Aquarius energy, shining a bright light on our future, on the possibilities, on new information and knowledge so that we can work smarter, not harder. The semi-square is a tension point, creating a little bit of conflict so that we can see where change is needed the most. Jupiter, the planet of growth, expansion, beliefs, abundance, blessings in this Aries energy, is pushing for new opportunities, pushing for growth, pushing for us to really re-identify, rebrand ourselves and go out in the world and actually make things happen for us instead of sitting back and allowing things to happen to us. What this particular aspect is going to do, and here's a cautionary note, we are going to be a little bit extra. What does that mean? Well, we're probably looking at situations and we're overestimating our ability to complete said projects, goals, whatever the case may be. We may actually be looking at a situation that requires a little bit more energy from us than what it is that we currently have to offer. So we're overestimating our personal energy. We could be looking at a situation overly confident, overly motivated, overly inspired, And of course, that puts us in a situation where, yeah, it's good to jump into things and have a positive mindset, but we're essentially setting ourselves up for a little bit of a disappointment if we're not being true with our thoughts, with our feelings, with our perception, with our understanding, with our estimates. Now, this particular energy is going to trigger an intensity within us because we want to grow. We want to move on. We want to improve. We want to be better. We want to open up our heart, open up our head, open up our lives to new experiences. We want to push our boundaries, both within ourselves and our thoughts and in our emotions, and the boundaries in our external realm, really understanding where it is that our comfort zones are acting more like a prison than anything else. And we really want to see what's on the other side of the wall. But here's the thing. We are over-guesstimating the amount of energy, the amount of effort, the amount of motivation, the amount of inspiration, the amount of growth that we're actually able to accomplish in a short amount of time. So it's great to kind of err on the side of positivity and optimism, but don't overdo it. Don't overcommit. Don't bite off more than you can chew. The moon in Scorpio is going to sit across from the true node, also known as the north node, currently in Taurus energy, which means that the south node that sits across from the north node in Scorpio energy is teaming up with the moon in Scorpio. So what we get here is a little bit of a weird dynamic because the moon in Scorpio, who is very intense, very passionate, ready to do the shadow work, ready to change, ready to transform once we kind of unearth the primary root cause of some of the issues we got going on here. We're sitting across the table from the true node, the north node in Taurus. This is asking us to move in this direction. This is our soul's path, our destiny point. The North Node in Taurus is saying, come on, you have to build something new. Come on, you have to create new routines. Come on, you have to give birth to a new relationship dynamic where you're standing in your power. The South Node, though, in Scorpio energy, is what we have to let go of. And it's a hard thing to let go of. We don't want to let go. We don't want to surrender. Why? Because we're in a fixed energy in Scorpio and Taurus axis. We don't necessarily want to change. We know that we should change, but we're hesitant in doing what we know we have to do in order to actually make those particular changes. So the moon sitting next to the south node is like, you know what? I'm holding on to the pain. I'm holding on to the trauma. I refuse to let go of the inner workings of my mind. I refuse to let go of the grudges. I refuse to let go of the negative thoughts, the negative feelings. Why? Because they keep me fired up. They keep me alive. Now, that is shadow work, my friends. And emotionally speaking, because that's what the moon is, we need to do a deep dive in why we're hesitant to let go of these particular aspects and why we fear making the changes that we know that we have to make. So it's definitely going to be a little bit of a tug of war, a little bit of a cluster F in our emotions to really get down to the nitty gritty and see what inside of us is actually creating this resistance to making the change that we know we have to make if we want a different set of circumstances in our external reality. The moon goes ahead, makes a very positive interaction with Mars. And this is interesting because Mars co-rules over Scorpio energy. So anytime that we have the moon in a particular energy and we're interacting with the ruler of that energy, there's always a little bit of intensity. Now, Mars, who rules over our physical energy, our drive, our passion, our desires, even our anger, is in Gemini energy, the intellectual battlefield. We are, again, sorting through, processing the details of our lives, taking stock, taking inventory, what needs to stay, what needs to go, who needs to stay, who needs to go. Why? Because we've identified a new direction, a new goal, a new project, and we're trying to understand who is going to be supportive enough to help us get there and who's going to create some blockages, some obstacles, not supporting us in taking on this new path, this new direction. The moon in Scorpio, very intense, very passionate, in alignment with this Mars energy. We are definitely hyping ourselves up. We are seeing the new level of motivation, new level of inspiration really take over. We are hell bent on really going after these new ideas. And we're a little bit trigger happy, feeling those ants just kind of get stirring up in our pants, wanting to go ahead and take action to initiate the new path, the new choice, the new direction that we've been mulling over literally for 7 months. So the moon is going to bump into Jupiter in not the nicest way, but it is going to create a little bit of a learning opportunity or a choice point, so to speak. We have Jupiter really magnifying whatever it is that we're thinking, whatever it is that we're feeling. And right now in this Scorpio moon, our emotions are very black and white, very intense. We are a little bit on the side of negativity, darkness, obsession, jealousy, possessiveness. There is a lot of fixating on old narratives, on old situations. And Jupiter is here to magnify that and turn the volume all the way up on that so that we have an opportunity to grow away from that, to improve our mental health, improve our emotions. While we go through the rerun process of keeping these thoughts and emotions and memories alive, we can really just illuminate it under this magnifying glass that Jupiter offers us. He's in Aries energy, who has no want, need, or desire to look back at all. And we're more apt to be able to cut the crap with this particular aspect taking place. And therefore, we are gifted an opportunity to take what it is that we're kind of being illuminated to, and we have a choice point. Are we going to sit in it and stay paralyzed in the current circumstances, only creating certain situations based off of this vibration and frequency? Or are we going to see it for what it is, an opportunity for growth and expansion, to really change our beliefs, to change our energy, to change our perspective moving forward? And are we going to take it? The moon bumps into Neptune, who is in its place of power in Pisces energy. We get some water on water action here. This isn't the nicest interaction, but let me just put it to you this way. Water energy, highly emotional, highly intuitive. It cleanses us from the old vibrations, from the negative vibrations. It purifies us and prepares us for a brand new chapter. So Neptune is very much about our higher self, our intuition, our dreams, our creativity, our fantasy. Now, this isn't the most favorable interaction that they could have. So we are kind of tapping into the shadow realm elements of both of these particular positions, which means that we could find ourselves feeling overwhelmed. We could push ourselves to the point where we want to disassociate with our current reality altogether. We could find ourselves avoiding our reality, avoiding some conversations in fear that they will turn into confrontations. And we, for the most part, are just not really that positive at the moment. We're kind of comfortable sitting in the cluster effery of our emotions, and we're having a hard time seeing the forest past the trees. And the one thing that we know to be true about the Pisces energy is that we have no problem to kind of bury our head in the sand and to just kind of wait until things kind of fix or heal themselves. Now, we know that it's not going to happen. However, there is an avoidant energy that will be taking over at this particular point in time, which is kind of interesting, seeing as the moon goes ahead and bumps into Chiron, the wounded healer, in not the nicest way. So what we have here is we're already in a generalized funk. We're already sitting in the shadow realm. We're already really not wanting to deal with this particular topic and theme coming up in us. We'd rather just kind of live in la la land and not in this reality. And then Chiron, the wounded healer, comes around and suddenly illuminates to us our fears, our doubts, our insecurities, where it is that we're feeling less than, where it is that we're not feeling up to the challenge of letting go and surrendering to some past pain and trauma, where it is that, guess what? We actually like sitting in our pain and trauma because it gives us someone else to blame, it gives us an excuse, it gives us an outlet to justify our paralysis and inaction in bossing up and taking control over our lives. So now we're definitely sitting in the funk. To make matters even more complicated, the moon is going to bump into Mars again, this time not so nicely. What we get here is a trigger warning where anger, arises, where agitation, frustration arises. Why? Because our inner narrative, the Gemini energy that Mars is currently in, we suddenly took a turn into the dark land, right? Neptune really kind of set the tone for us. Chiron, adding an extra layer of pain and trauma for us to complain about. Why not add a little bit of anger and frustration into the mix, especially because we're not thinking clearly, especially because we're struggling to kind of weed out the energetic blockages in our mind space, preventing us from actually strategizing and make a clear plan on how it is that we're moving forward. We're definitely seeing the buildup of the funk, and that is definitely expected as we approach the last quarter moon that will be taking place early tomorrow morning. We do get a little bit of a help though, because the moon is going to make a positive interaction with Mr. Jupiter. So earlier we didn't have the best interaction. Now he's coming to save us. How is he going to save us? Well, he shines a bright light on our current funk and says, hey, you have the opportunity to crawl out of this dark hole. Do you want to take it? And at this point, we're not feeling so hot. We're not feeling so good. We feel the anger, the darkness bubbling up in us. We don't want to feel like this all day. So guess what? We say, okay, Mr. Jupiter, shine a bright light on how I'm supposed to get out of this hole. And suddenly we feel the shift in our energy, tapping into a boldness, a bravery, a courage that we need to have in order to get out of our own damn way. So Jupiter is like, you know what? You're in this hole. You're going to have to kind of grow through what it is that you're going through right now. Why don't you put one foot in front of the other, take baby steps, and get yourself out of this dark pit? And sure enough, emotionally speaking, we are shifting our narrative, shifting our emotions to try and be a little bit more positive and confident. And we are mustering up the courage, the bravery that we need in order to take responsibility for our lives. We put ourselves in this hole and we are sure as hell going to dig ourselves out. The moon at this time, though, goes ahead and directly opposes Uranus. Uranus is the great awakener. He's in Taurus energy, and he likes to shock us. He likes to disrupt us. Normally, he would provide us with a little bit of a breakthrough, an aha moment, an epiphany. However, this is an opposition, so we're sitting across the table from Mr. Uranus, and Mr. Uranus is like, you know what? Okay, I'm not going to give you the breakthrough that you want. I'm not going to give you the clarity that you need, because if I just hand it to you, it's not going to be something that is really going to shake you to your core. You need to discover this yourself. And so what we're doing here is we're emotionally, again, crawling out of this hole, but we're emotionally sorting through our situation. Why did we choose to sit in this black hole? Why is this black hole suitable for us? Why do we feel comfortable here? Why did we have to sit here so long and be invited to crawl our asses out? Why didn't we just take the initiative and crawl out of this funk when we felt like the funk was just, consuming us? So now we're ready to peel back the layers of this current situation. We're ready to do the detailed inner work needed in order to see what is up. What part of us is enjoying this pain, this trauma, this suffering? What part of our identity is so closely knit with the pain and the suffering that we actually somewhat enjoy our time in the depths of the darkness of this pit that we've chosen to sit in? So now we're going to start peeling back the layers, and you best believe as we move through getting our asses out of this dark pit, this dark hole, and we do the inner work in our inner thoughts, our inner emotions to figure out how we voluntarily jumped down this hole in the first place, we are definitely going to have some epiphanies, some aha moments that are going to change the game. Again, we have to change and alter our perspective, our understanding. We have to see that shift in our psyche before it is going to have an impact on our emotions. And the minute that our heart and our head have shifted, we're able to engage the physical body to rearrange our external realms to start mirroring back to us the changes and transformations that we just went through in our inner realm. The sun is going to kick off with Neptune. Let me just say, this is where things get very, very foggy, where things get very vague, where things get a little bit overwhelming, where we are going to reach the point of doing the deep dive in our psyche, in our heart space, that we get so overwhelmed that we want to check out and disassociate altogether. And you know what? Because we're in this dark pit, because we are making efforts to climb out, because we are kind of looking into the depths of our heart, our soul, our psyche, in order to figure out why we find this dark place kind of comfortable, the sun in Aquarius energy, shining a bright light on the futuristic possibilities, is interacting with Neptune and Pisces in such a way that we are disconnected from our intuition. We do want to live in la la land. We do check out of reality, and we start making up situations and scenarios, fantasizing about the time in which we are never feeling comfortable to jump into this dark pit. However, our emotions become overwhelming. Our thoughts are very unclear. This is the point in time where we lose a little bit of inspiration, lose a little bit of motivation, lose a little bit of, I'm going to say, vision on how it is that we are going to get out of this emotional shitstorm and how it is that we're going to clear some of these details up. Now, lucky for us, the last aspect here today is the moon interacting in a very positive way with Pluto, the primary ruler over the Scorpio energy. And Pluto is the great transformer himself, doing a deep dive, really triggering the inner psyche, understanding, perception, projections of self. And again, we just had Mercury and Pluto pop off and really reveal to us some interesting facts and details about our shadow selves that change the game, that changes the course of the direction in which we're taking. And so the moon interacting with Pluto in this way is an emotional shift. It is I'm going to say, trigger and activation in our inner realm to see what the F the problem is and where it is that we can solve it. We are the detectives of the zodiac in the Scorpio energy. And Mr. Pluto, who wants to create a very profound, deep transformation within self, is pushing us, yes, to encourage us to say, you know what? You do like the darkness. Why? Let's turn that darkness into a source of light. What is light? Information. So let's gain some information on why it is that there is a certain part of you that enjoys the torture, the pain, the suffering of this particular dark shadow that is emotionally seated within your heart space. And through the, I'm going to say, reverse psychology process that Pluto kind of puts on us, we realize where it is that, guess what? The pain, the trauma, the suffering, it isn't meant to paralyze us. It's meant to inspire us. It's meant to act as the catalyst to get our asses in gear so that we boss up, take control over the situation, and we start climbing our asses out of this deep, dark pit.